I'm making this video with special thanks to 007 the Asian Lover, who was gracious enough to grant me permission to use his video clips in my video. I'm a subscriber of his, and the reason I like his channel is because you get an honest look into the mind of some men. But also what I like about his channel is that he says some of the same things that I've been saying, and I thought it might be interesting to hear those things coming from someone who's very different from me. He's male and he's Asian. So without further ado, I'm going to play some of his clips and then comment on them. Some of the clips I'm going to play are things that I've said, and some of them are things that I think women should hear. The first clip I'm going to play is him advising men not to get married and why. And for women who care about marriage, you really should listen to this clip.
Today I'm going to talk about why men should never get married. Now, getting married is the last thing you want to do, especially if you live in a country that has been corrupted by feminism, such as the United States, Canada, many of the countries in Europe, because the marriage contract in those countries only benefit women. Now, this wasn't always the case. It used to be, back when we still had patriarchal societies, the marriage contract benefited both parties, both the man and the woman. But that is no longer the case. So, a lot of you might think, okay, I can retire from the game, I can settle down with a good girl and get married and have kids. Well, you're risking a lot on the basis that this girl might be a good girl. What if she isn't? And even if she is a good girl, she has all of the power of the state behind her. She can divorce you, take half your assets, not just the ones accumulated during marriage, but half of all your assets. Receive a paycheck every month for alimony and child support. And she can get this very easily. Divorce courts heavily favor women.
To the women out there who are listening who care about marriage, I know not all of you do, but for the ones who do, this is the reason why you should support some of the things that the men's movement is trying to accomplish. The marriage laws need to change. They're too one-sided. Now, some of the women out there who are gold diggers and vicious and vindictive, they don't care about this. But if the marriage laws stay on the way they are, men are going to stop getting married. And that's going to lead to a whole lot more illegitimate children, because men are going to keep having sex and they're going to keep getting with women, but they're not going to marry them. Now, I suppose you could still get a man with child support, but still, that's a lot less expensive than alimony and taking half your assets like the guy said. Now, the child support and child custody laws need to change as well, but it's a lot easier to control whether you get married than whether you have a child. So while they still may have to take a gamble when they have sex with women they could make a child, they still don't have to get married. So if you're a woman out there who cares about marriage, this is a reason to support the men's movement to reform marriage laws. The next clip I'm going to play sounds like a clip ripped right from a Wall of Silencer video, and that makes it even more interesting to hear an Asian guy saying it.
If you're a nice guy, this is your life. You're going to go through your 20s and your teenage years, your 20s, your early 30s with no women. Because women your age, they don't want a nice guy. They're out having fun with the bad boys. And then right around their early 30s, they want to settle down, and they look for a weak, spineless man they can easily control. Preferably someone that makes a good income, so he could provide for her. He could provide for her kids that were fathered by the bad boy that she, fucked around with for several years.
I guess this guy can join the Wall of Silence too, huh? Well, anyway, this next clip is good for women to hear.
You do not have to treat women like your mom or your sister or whatnot, because women are not deserving of that consideration just because they're a woman. I remember I went out with this girl, and we met at a bar, and I invited her. I told her, hey, let's go over to your place. And then she used the argument that women like to use, like, oh, how would you like it if some guy, asked your sister to go home with him or whatnot? And for her to use the argument that, I'm a woman, your sister's a woman, so you have to treat all women like you treat your sister, is an illogical argument.
There's 2 points I want to make with this video clip. One of them is basically the same kind of point, and one is a slightly different point, but it's still the same principle. A lot of times people will say, and now that I think of it, I think it's always women, if you want to know how a man's going to treat you, look at how he treats his mother. And like Otis says, that's the guy in the video, this is illogical. Your mother is your mother. She gave birth to you. That puts her on a whole different plane from any other person in your whole life, man or woman. A man could treat his mother great and still treat you like shit. So pay attention to how he treats you, and that's how you know how he's going to treat you. And another point is that not everybody had a loving, good mother, maybe like you did. So a man may treat his mother poorly, but maybe that's what she deserves because she was a bad mother. So really, just pay attention to how he treats you. And the second point I want to make is that sometimes when black men will be saying certain things about black women will come back with this thing, well, your mother was a black woman, so are you talking about her too? Now, while I understand what these black women are trying to say, it still is nonetheless an illogical argument. A man's mother is his mother, and a woman he's trying to get with is a woman he's trying to get with, and the two really have nothing to do with each other. The next clip I'm going to play backs up one of the things I said on my list of 8, specifically the one about before and after. And in case you don't know, this is when some black men say, well, black women didn't want me before I was successful, so now that I'm successful, I don't want them. All this does is give women of other races a pass.
Women are not only shallow about looks, but they also want a guy with money. So, let me tell you an example. A couple years ago, I was training a client of mine, and she only dated white guys. She only dated within a race. And I noticed, close by at the gym, there's an African American gentleman working out. He's a huge guy, 6'6", 300 pounds, solid muscle. And I actually know the guy. I've been talking to him, and I told my client that he's a professional football player. Now, she had absolutely no interest in him before. Once I told her that, her eyes lit up. She was dreaming of that life of luxury where she didn't have to work, and her professional football player would support her. And that's how women think. And the reason why I'm showing you her profile is she's, again, another experiment, my social status profile. So if you look at what she writes about her date, the guy that she wants a guy that's above 5'10", and white Caucasian. So consider that I'm 5'7" and I'm Asian, and she's interested in me, is because that's the power of social status. I mean, money is a powerful lure for women, especially if you're older. I'm getting close to 30, and women, they start to have this programming. Their hormones kick in, and they're ready to look for a provider because they want to get married, they want to have kids. In order to have kids, they need an environment of security. And money, even if a woman isn't into your race, if she isn't into your looks, if she isn't into your height, for some women, that high social status is going to completely change, even if you don't meet her looks criteria.
So when some people like to bring up all the black male celebrities or actors or professional athletes who are with non-black women, if it's put into context, it's really not saying much. Women are attracted to money, and that's not a characteristic of any one race. If a non-black woman marries a doctor, she didn't marry a black man, she married a doctor. A doctor is a doctor. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. And the last clip I want to play is for the women. I just want to hear the women's reaction to it. I'm not going to say what I think because I don't want to poison the well, so I'll just play the clip.
It's time to spread the truth. In reality, women need us far more than we need them. Think about it. You strip away, we live in this modern society with these modern structures such as, child support, alimony, welfare, Social Security, Medicare. These are all artificial programs. If some type of doomsday scenario happened, where, if a virus spread and killed 90% of the population, those structures would not exist. And we would be back to where it used to be, where women were completely dependent on men for survival. Not just, money or finances, but for sheer survival, for life. That is how much women need us. And what do we need from women? It's a little hole between your legs. That's it. Now, I don't need a woman to cook for me. In fact, I can cook better than most women. I can clean my own house. I can use a vacuum cleaner. So what do I need a woman for?
I'm not going to give my full opinion yet, but I would add one thing to his list of what men need women for, and that's children. I guess that's technically covered with the hole between the legs thing, but I'll go ahead and mention it just in case. So anyway, I want to hear reactions to that clip from both men and women, but especially the women. Do you agree or disagree? And that's all I got. Laters.